Hey everybody, and welcome to a Teacher's Wonderland YouTube channel. My name is Ronnie, and I'm going to be walking you through how to plan your math block. So first things first, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you can be notified anytime I post a new video. Okay, I have it all written down for us, and questions that I always get, I'm going to try to answer them today. I'm going to make this video as if you have a math block that is 60 minutes. 60. Okay, not 16. First thing that you need to do is you need to identify how much time do you have. Realistically, like if your lunch ends at 10:37 or 11:37. I was thinking, sorry, 11:37. But your math block starts at 11:30 and goes to 12:30. Listen, you're not getting upstairs at 11:30, nor are you getting upstairs at 11:37. Because that means you have to pick them up, they have to get their tables cleaned, they have to get in line, you have to get to your room. Maybe if you're lucky, you'll get 11:50. Maybe. Definitely talk to your principal and say like, hey, listen, you're giving me 40 minutes for math. If that's a 60-hour block. 60-minute block, sorry. So you need to have that communication with your principal to be like, this is not going to work. Can I switch this and make this and do this? So be realistic about how much time you really have. Now, sometimes some principals are like, nope, you've got 40 minutes and make it work and you'll figure it out, I promise. So you also need to know, what do you want to achieve during your math block? Do you want to have centers, or are you like, let's just get through the lesson? And how many groups and students do you want to see? Of course, I'm going to be more I'm going to be more center oriented than anything. So if you are interested in not having centers, I don't know if this video is going to be right for you, to be honest. I mean, don't waste your time. But if you are looking at centers and you want to know how to get your centers going, then I would definitely say this might be perfect for you. Keep in mind, this is 60 minutes. I have had people request for a 90-minute one, and I've had people request for a 45-minute one. So this is the 60-minute one. If you have 60 minutes and it's like, a little less than 60 minutes, I would say anywhere more than 45 minutes to the 60 minutes, that's fine. I think that's fine. Even if you only have like an hour and 10 minutes, you would still be fine. You wouldn't fall in that 90-minute section. So, as a teacher, you know that planning your math block is one of the most important aspects of teaching. It is. My principal would give us the schedule and be like, you have from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock math. What are you supposed to do? Sometimes people are like, figure it out. It sets the tone for the day, it sets a tone for the year, and it does help ensure that each student gets that individualized attention that they need. Or it could be in that group setting that they need to make that progress in their learning. But what happens when you only have 60 minutes? How do you make sure that every one of your students has enough time to learn what they need to? Let's break down how you can successfully plan a math block for your hour. First step, we need to start with our goals. We need to plan out, what do we want to get done with our goals. Okay, just even if you don't like write it down, that's okay, but think about it. Do you want to have centers? Do you want to have technology time? And we're not talking about like what goes in your centers. Like, I want to talk about like, what do you need to have in your math block? Okay, and then we can move things around. So for us, we always had to have we didn't have to, because I've seen some teachers that never did centers. So I always did centers and I always did technology, but then I would take that technology and put it under centers. So I kind of combined them to make the best of both worlds. I always had to have a mini lesson. I always had to have independent time, and I always liked to have an exit ticket. Those are mine. Okay, so now what are you going to do when a student doesn't understand the concept? Are you going to give them that time later? Are you going to work with them? Are you going to pull them in a small group? What are you going to do? In the case of this, because we're working with centers, we're going to focus on the center part. Okay, and that's where we're going to review it. So, are there any extra activities that you'll be able to get done, that you'll be able to work on, that you'll be able to have success with? Are you able to set goals for yourself and make sure that they are actually accomplished? You also need to make sure that you are considering the needs of all of your students, because some do have IEPs, some do have ELL students that have a plan. You need to know what works for your students. And you may need to make sure that you are providing extra support during that time. So for me, I broke it down into a 3-part math block, okay? Lesson, which would be like the new materials, okay? I then moved on to the guided practice, and then I moved into small group. Those are my 3 parts, okay? Everything else fell under a category, and that was simple, and that was easy, and that worked for me, okay? I was able to, so let's start with my lesson, okay? My mini lessons were always done by using math notes, and I'm actually going to show you what an example of my math notes looks like, just because it might actually kind of help your brain, because sometimes just hearing math notes is different from seeing math notes. I'm going to steal one from, I'm going to use this one. This is a 4th grade one that I used, all created by me. I have lots and lots of math notes for grades third grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. So this would actually be where we started it off, and I would show the students on the board or on my projector, wherever, an example. And then when they're like, what did you do? Let's go through our notes. And that's where I was able to say, okay, step 1, we're going to multiply the 7 and the 9, and we follow those steps. That's that guided practice. Okay, so we want them to be able to follow these steps. Then I have my students working with a buddy, which is right here in that middle piece, and they worked with that buddy to identify what works and what doesn't work, right? And then sometimes I would have kids say, okay, I want to try this one by myself. Let me see if I get it right. It worked. And then they were able to follow that step. So there's your guided practice. And then you went to your 3rd step, which would be independent, or I would have small groups. So a lot of times it depends. I would, okay, here's how I'm going to explain this to you. This is old, but it still works. All right, hang on. Email math. Okay, this is actually still how I follow my structure. Obviously, I'm Mrs. Air. I would start with my low students every day. And I know some people are like, no, you gotta start with your high kids. No, I didn't. I would start with my low kids after I had my independent time. All of my students, like while I was getting my little table ready for my math group, because let's be honest, I didn't do it the day before. I did it like as I'm walking up. So my students, let's pull this up. Hang on. Math notes. I just grabbed another one. I don't even know which one I grabbed, but I grabbed another one. Oops. Okay. I think this is adding and subtracting fractions. So let's say these are the notes, okay? They went through and they did all this. They went through and did this. They worked with a buddy on this. Now, while I'm getting my desk set up, my kids are ready to go and start moving around. These guys, all of my students, every single one of them are working on their independent work here. If they struggle with something, then what I do is I will actually have them highlight where they struggled. So if they struggled on a certain area and they didn't know what to do, they highlighted it. So when they came to me, they knew where they struggled. Now let's fast forward to this. Okay. Once my students, my group 1, came to me and sat with me, I looked at their notes page and made sure that there was no problems with their independent section. Then they got their books back. Fine, cool. My high group, all the rest of my students, while I was getting ready for small group, all the rest of my students were working on that independent section. And now my high students right here, my at your seats, are working on their independent work with their buddy or independently, whatever they prefer for that day. Then I am working on small groups and small group activities with the ones that are with me that says Mrs. Air. When the time comes, and this is going to depend on you and your students, my first, when I first started, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do 20 minutes with each group. No, I got 10 minutes because I was able to get my lessons down to 20 minutes and I was able to get my small groups down to 10 minutes, which worked out really well, to be honest with you. Then we rotate. Okay. My kids that were just with me, my low babies, now I'm going to get you the next section. You ready? So, oh, wait, where'd it go? Nope, that's all right. Okay, now my low babies are going to move. They go ding, ding, and it's going to move. So my lows went to at your seat. My low mediums came to me. My highs went to my technology, which would be my iReady or iExcel, whatever you have to do. And then my medium high would do their hands-on or their journal. And we always had an activity for that. It was already done, okay? Then on the third bell, so this is how they're moving. On the third bell, my kids, keep track of those lows, they're going to go to technology now. So they moved one more. And then on the last bell, you're going to see this guy. Okay? So the reason why I moved my high group to the end, and again, I'm going to tell you, some people have like opinions about this, and some people are like, no, you shouldn't do that. Totally fine. That's their choice. I mean, not my choice. Some people personally liked to have their high medium or high group first. I didn't, because if any reason my other group struggled, and they could totally struggle, which unforeseen circumstances, right? You don't know why they're struggling, but you need to spend more time on it. Then you're going to have less time for your high kids, and those kids are going to be okay. Right? I mean, think about it. If I don't see them today, they're going to be okay. I don't have to stress about seeing them because they're going to be fine. So you can actually see the progression of how my students move throughout their groups now. And you can see that with the 4 centers, they get to all 4 of them, and I'm controlling it. So I was figured out how to transition from group 1 to group 2 to 3 to 4 to go through the rotations by using PowerPoints, and only use PowerPoints because I cannot remember to put on an anchor chart and keep track of that 15 minutes on my watch, on my phone, whatever, or 10 minutes. So having this, I was able to put it on the projector, hit the apply button, and then get it kind of situated. Does that make sense? Like, I was able to change the time, press apply, hit a sound, and it moved for me. And I didn't have to do anything. Easy, simple, effective. So this is just how I organized them. So that means I would see let's say, for the sake of this, let's say my lesson went over by like 3 minutes. Okay. But I still have 37 minutes remaining of my math block. So I could go 10 minutes low, 10 minutes low medium, 10 minutes high medium, and 7 minutes for my high. Listen, those highs, they will get it done, and they're quick. So if I only have 5 minutes, I still saw them. I still had them come to me. I still saw them, which is what I wanted. So that's just how I organize my middle part here. A lot of times, once you've established that this is what you want to do, I will introduce my new materials by using the math notes that I showed you. I'll move into the guided practice, which is that buddy practice and the independent practice. And then they'll come to me and we'll use work mats. A lot of times, like I said, I don't have it prepared. I'm just not that type of person. I don't know why. Especially because I am a very prepared person, but not all of the time. So then what I'll do is each student will get this, and this will be in a little sheet protector. So while they're working on their independent practice, I'm working on their sheet protector stuff, putting them in the sheet protectors, and then I'm grabbing my lesson plans to look at them. And I usually have them like paper clipped, and I'll say, okay, here's a lesson, here's what we're doing, boom, 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 and that works. So these are actually what I use during my small group. Um, a lot of times you can outline your plan. I would outline what skill I was teaching in my small group every single day. And I would say, okay, where's that page? And I would have them printed ready to go. So I never was like late on that. It was just getting my table ready. To maximize your time, you want to make sure you know what you were teaching. Don't just be like, it was today. I mean, literally by the fourth year, I was like, all right, I know what I'm doing and I know how to do this in small groups. So I was fine. But my first year, no, you can't do that. It's flying by the seat of your pants is not effective, unfortunately. Um, Time management is super important for you. Make sure you know what you're focusing on and what you need to have, especially when your resources may be limited. To maximize your time and get the most out of your minute, be mindful of the transitions between each of your centers. A lot of times, what I actually did one year, because my kids were horrible at transitions, I would actually have um, a transition timer. So like I'd have like slide one, and then in between there, I'd have a countdown to say like, hey, you've got like 30 seconds to get to your next place. Go. And then I'd have the timer on the board, and then they'd be like, oh my gosh. And they would keep track of that. And it was helpful for me too, because then I'd be like, where's so and so? Where's so and so? You need to be over here in 26 seconds. It does help. You should also give yourself enough time at the end to review your lesson if need be, or go over an assessment, or give them an assessment like an exit ticket, whatever you need to do. I never reviewed the lesson at the end because they did so much reviewing and so much like talking about the skill with me that I didn't feel it was necessary to review it. However, the people that didn't do centers, like teachers that didn't do centers, I did notice that they did review at the end of the lesson, which I just didn't. And then we would just do a check to make sure that they had their homework, and I would just pass it on and be like, it goes in your backpack. It's for home. So the key to planning a successful 60 minutes math block is establishing those clear goals for yourself and for your students. Make sure you are outlining your plan ahead of time, even if it's just your plan about being like, all right, we're doing this, this, and this. And then be strategic with your time management. Be careful with your thoughts, or be careful with your planning. Make sure that you have, you know, careful thought and preparation ahead of time, and create an effective lesson plan that will do well for you and for your situation. I knew that I could just write down the topic and I knew it. But some weeks, if I had a lot going on, I wanted to know the page, I wanted to know the homework, I wanted to know the lesson, I wanted to know everything. So, it just depends on you and what you can do well with. By using these strategies during your math block, I promise you, your lesson will be perfect. Um, and it's great. So if you're looking for that PowerPoint, I don't actually have that PowerPoint anymore, but it actually will show you how to launch guided math in 10 days. So if you want to launch guided math in 10 days, I'll put the link right here below so that way you can just grab the download. It's a freebie, and you can just grab it and download it, and you're off and running. I'm so excited for you, and I hope you have a great year. Bye.